What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm bringing you 5 no-brainer fantasy football picks for 2024. These are guys that I think are just being extremely undervalued, and to me, when I was going through Fantasy Pros ADPs, I literally went, well, that's no-brainer. I would take him there 10 out of 10 times. Every draft, I'm grabbing this guy. And here are 5 players that really stood out to me in my initial look at ADP. I will preface this by saying, hey, we're on June 26th. It's June 26th as I'm recording this video, so there's time for ADPs to rise and sink. But as of right now, these were 5 no-brainers. So let's start off with Joe Burrow as the QB8, 70th player overall. In seasons where Joe Burrow has been healthy, he's finished as the QB4 and the QB8. He averages in those 2 seasons 4,500 yards, 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 187 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. So you're getting 4,700 total yards and almost 40 total touchdowns in a season, in 2 seasons where he's been healthy. Last year, in a season where he had a really bad start, he finished the year with a run of 24, 15, 27, 22, 22, and then 8, and he got hurt for the season, hurt his wrist. But after a really slow start, I mean, he finishes off with a 24, 27, 22, 22 run. That's really great. Why are we taking CJ Stroud at pick 45 when you have Burrow, who's proven to be an elite option when healthy, going 30 picks later? I think that is a no-brainer for me. In my draft, if Joe Burrow, if he is sitting there at pick 70 in the 6th to 7th round, I am smashing the draft button. I am picking his sticker off and I'm smashing the board as hard as I can. And I think I came away with a absolute diamond in the rough, a steal, a league-winning pick right there at pick 70 in Joe Burrow. Next on the list for me is a receiver from the Miami Dolphins, and it's Jaylen Waddle as the wide receiver 17, 28th overall. And to me, last year wasn't as bad as you think it was. It felt very rocky because he was on and off the field a lot with kind of minor injuries. He was one of those guys where every time the sleeper app would pop up about Jaylen Waddle, I'd be like, oh my God, not again. This guy really hobbled off. But he finished last year as the wide receiver 34, but he only played 14 games. So he finished the year with 72 receptions for just over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. If he played every game, he was on pace for 87 receptions, over 1,200 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That's a pretty good season, right? That's pretty great, especially going as the wide receiver 17. Tua Tagovailoa led the NFL in passing yards last year, and Waddle just signed a new extension to stay there. So obviously they want to get this dude involved. He's a playmaker. He might not be the most consistent player week in and week out because Tyreek Hill is still there. But if you want somebody as your wide receiver 2 or 3 that you can get, and you want some explosion, Jaylen Waddle is your guy. I don't want him to get suppressed because he kind of fell. If I look at wide receiver rankings or ADPs in half PPR leagues, he is in the class of Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, that range. And while I think he belongs there, I think he's the guy that possesses more upside than a lot of those other guys. So I think Jaylen Waddle here is a pretty easy, smart pick. Next up for me is a running back, and it'll be Joe Mixon as the RB15, 54th player overall. He's a workhorse. I mean, we've seen it through the last 5 years. This guy has managed all the touches. He's had 300 touches in 3 seasons total in his career. And 1 season, he had like 270, but he missed 3 games. So he would have had another season of 300 touches. Devin Singletary last year for the Texans had a stat line of 900 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, 30 receptions for 200 yards. He didn't even start until week 9. So I think Mixon could come in with little competition, although, if you're from the channel, I love Dameon Pierce. I still think he's a good player, but whatever. But I think Joe Mixon's going to come in with very little competition, and he's just going to be the bell cow. I mean, the Texans are going for the playoffs. They're going big. I think they're going to give this guy the rock as much as possible. And Joe Mixon is a good player. I don't think he's like an elite player, but I think he's still like a really good caliber running back. So I think this year could be a huge breakout for him. And going in, as RB 15 and pick 54, that's like a late 4th, early 5th round pick. I think that's a freaking steal. And quickly, I'll mention it too. Kenneth Walker, same vein. I think Kenneth Walker is awesome. They're going back-to-back picks. So I think you can get some running backs later in drafts that I really like. Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker. I've talked about Kenneth Walker like a million times in all my videos, so I didn't want to completely mention him in this one, but I had to. I love the guy. Next up is another running back. It's Tony Pollard as the RB30, 92 overall. This one, I went, oh my God, like smash. Joe Burrow before, if I went hitting the draft button hard for him, Tony Pollard, I will own that mofo in every single league that I play in. Easily. Tony Pollard going as the 92nd player overall. That is insanity. I'll pull the overall rankings ADP wise. 92nd overall. The guys going around him are Ladd McConkey, Rome Odunze, Brock Purdy, Jackson Smith and Jigba, David Njoku, Austin Eckler, Keon Coleman, Cortland Sutton, and Devin Singletary. Didn't we think Tony Pollard, 2 years ago, heading into last season, was a really good player and we were so happy to draft him? He still finished with 1,300 total yards and 7 touchdowns. And I think he had a pretty unlucky touchdown season from the goal line. I think he could have been in double-digit range for sure. I think Pollard is still a good player. I don't see him taking a big step back. I do like Tajay Spears there in that backfield. If you want to check out actually a video on him, I have it. I'll mark it up above. But I think Tony Pollard should be the starter for this team. I think Tony Pollard is good. And even if Tony Pollard isn't the pure bell cow, RB30 is ridiculous. That is nuts. That's nutty. So I think Tony Pollard here is an absolute smash steal. Even if he doesn't work out, take the shot. He's going in the 8th round. Just take the shot on the guy. He's too talented. And I think he's just too good of a player to be going this late and everyone just going, nah, we're done with him. Dallas got rid of him. We don't want him. Dallas got rid of him because they can't afford to pay a running back with the CeeDee Lamb, and now Dak Prescott is going to get a fat extension. They couldn't afford to pay a running back. And you see, Dallas didn't even do anything. They kept all the guys they had, and then they brought Zeke back. They obviously want to go cheap at running back, so they had to get rid of Pollard. I think Pollard is being put in a doghouse for no reason, and I think he is a true league-winning pick this year. Easily. And the last player I want to talk about is Devonte Smith as the wide receiver 23, 37th player overall. In 2022, Smith finished as the wide receiver 10, and we're just throwing him aside this year. We're saying, nah, we're good. Last year, that Eagle offense really fell apart in the second half of the season, and it just wasn't right. They have a new offensive coordinator, and I think things are going to turn around there. I really, truly believe that. I think there's a great chance that Smith, while I don't know if he'll be back the top 10 range, I think he can easily finish as a top, 14, 15 wide receiver and be an 1,100 yard, 8 touchdown guy again because he's freaking good. I mean, he had too many good games last year to just be forgotten about. Now, that was the thing last year was he had a lot of really great games and a lot of terrible games. But in his great games, I'll mark him on the screen, but he had a 4 for 131 and a touchdown, 7 for 78, 7 for 99 and a touchdown, 6 for 99, 7 for 106 and a touchdown, 9 for 96 and a touchdown, 4 for 79 and a touchdown. In the playoff game, he went 8 for 148. The guy's good, man. He's just a good player. I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. A.J. Brown obviously is there and is going to get more of the targets because he's just a pure dominant, truly elite player. But I still think Devonte Smith is a really, really good player. Kind of in that Waddle mode. Maybe he's a little up and down. But Devonte Smith going as the wide receiver 23, 37th overall, I think I would love to have him as my potential wide receiver 2 or 3 if you can get him late enough in drafts. He's a good player in a great situation. I'm in. All right, and those were my 5 no-brainer fantasy picks for 2024. Like I said, it's still early. It's June as we're recording this video, so we still have all of July and all of August for ADPs to rise and sink. But as of right now, these guys, to me, are no-brainers. If you like the video, leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Like I said, we'll be coming all summer long, so stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.